What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another video. Thank you for joining in, and if you're new, please do consider giving this video a thumbs up as well as subscribing. So today I'm going to be discussing my exclusively pumping journey, how long I was pumping for, when I stopped, which pump I have or pumps I have, and some tips for moms that want to, you know, do the exclusively pumping thing. So firstly, I'm going to start by explaining why I decided to exclusively pump. So when Zion was 4 months old, he started off with pacifiers pretty much as soon as we came home from the hospital, and that did not give him any nipple confusion. But when he started sort of being more aware of the difference between a breast and a bottle, he decided he wanted the bottle. I did try to get him back on the boob, but it was just so time consuming and so stressful that I was like, I cannot do this. This little boy of mine only wants a bottle because it's faster and easier to suck on than to latch on a boob, you know. I noticed that when I'd offer him the boob, he would take it when my breasts were full, and as soon as the letdown was sort of slowing down, it would last about 5 minutes, and then he'd just scream like, where did my milk go? Why do I have to work so hard to get milk out? Give me a bottle. So I did a lot of skin to skin or skin on skin, and you know, being very loving and making sure the boob was always available to him, but he was just not having it, and it was just so stressful. So I decided I'm going to exclusively pump. But at the time I had a single breast pump, a Tommy Tippy pump, not the new generation one that's like purplish like the one before that. I do still have it, I just don't know where it is right now, and I'm not going to look for it. And I was struggling. It would take me out of my day. I was spending hours and hours on end pumping milk, and I got gifted this Medela Swing Maxi. It's a double breast pump. You guys, this saved my life basically, because I was gonna go insane, number one. Number two, I would not have been giving my child breast milk, which is what I wanted to do. I got this when he, around that time, around the 4 month period. So I'd say we were exclusively pumping for almost 10 months. So almost a year of exclusively pumping. It is a huge commitment, okay? It is difficult. In fact, all breastfeeding is difficult. Breastfeeding is difficult, okay? We experienced some issues. I will link my breastfeeding journey video up here and in the description box. We experienced a ton of issues, but pumping is also just another ball game. Like, you've got to think about the hygiene of the pump and bottles, and having enough bottles, having your pump pods, swapping your pump pods out, and all of that. But I'm going to give you my tips and tricks of how I managed this so that it was efficient, didn't take too much time, but my son could still have his breast milk. So before I get into the tips and tricks, I just want to show you what the pump actually looks like, the kind of box that it comes in, which parts you're going to have to change, all of that jazz. So as you can see on the box, it comes with 2 bottles and their parts, right? This is the motor for the pump. You have to look after this because replacing this, I think, is 3,000 Rand. Okay, so you have to look after this. Don't get it wet, don't spill milk on it, don't let your child play with it, because Zion always used to play with it because obviously when it goes on it vibrates, and he found that very interesting and funny. And then make sure that you keep your slips so that if you need to replace parts or send it back or whatever, that you can do that. So I'm going to put this back in here. This is making me very sad, but we've come to the end of our journey and I soldiered on. And then you've got these 2 bottles. They do sell these at the shops, you know, like just Medela bottles like this. I did not have the teats for this. I do know a couple of moms have said that if you're gonna bottle feed, get the teats, because it actually demands that the child or the baby put some effort into getting milk, whereas the bottles I have, which are Tommy Tippy, if I put it upside down, the milk just sort of drips out, you know, which means that he's not really putting in much effort, to be honest. And then these are the valves. The one thing, so these are the valves. This is what, this goes in here and like this. So before I close this, I just want to explain. I thought because when you exclusively pump you have to replace these things, I thought you could just replace this thing, which makes sense. This is what does the job, right, of suctioning the breast. But with Medela, you have to replace this whole thing, and when I looked online to replace this, I think the both of them were like 1.5. And when you're exclusively pumping, you have to replace this like every month, I think. Yeah, every month. And if you sort of not exclusively pumping but giving the breast and the bottle, every 3 months is what's suggested. Then these are the lids for the bottles. This is what plugs into the wall. I just want to mention that for the Swing Maxi, there's this part that opens at the back here. There are batteries that go in here. I never used it like this, which to me tells me that this can be used without electricity. I have not tried it, so I cannot confirm. They have the Swing Maxi Flex, I think, and that is completely portable. You do not need, I think you have to just like charge it every now and then, but you can just sort of use that. And then this is the connector. You can make it into a single breast pump by connecting this part into here, and then obviously this would go into like this, for example, and then it will be a single breast pump. So for example, if you wanted to just pump on the last boob that you fed on, you can make this into a single breast pump, which is great. I've never used it as a single breast pump because I did have a single breast pump. But yeah, that's basically it. The only bits that I'm missing, which I will get right now, they're in the kitchen, is the flannel bits. It's this part that sticks to the boob and pulls the milk out. With regards to that, there are different sizes for different size nipples, different size boobs, but I found that the one that came with my pump fit perfectly onto my boob, so I never had to buy another one. Another thing that I wanted to mention with this pump is it will basically last you for however many babies that you're going to have, and I'm packing this away indefinitely because I do not see any babies in the near future. So I've packed mine away, and I'm going to give you some tips about exclusively pumping. Tip number 1, do not feel guilty. I know it's hard to decide that you're not going to put your child on the breast. Is difficult because society gives us this idea that, you know, they have to be on the boob, and if they're not on the boob, then you as a mom have failed. In fact, you're not really a mom if your child is not breastfed. And I just want to tell you that is a bunch of hogwash. Feed your child the way that is doable, and it's not going to make you go crazy and suit your lifestyle and your family setup. If formula feeding is the way that you want to feed your child, do it. If you know that, you know what, your letdown is a bit too harsh and your baby's always just spit up, all of that jazz, then rather, you know, here's your option. You can use a breast pump. Tip number 2, I would say don't put so much pressure on yourself. A lot of the time we go into this, whether it's like breastfeeding, like putting baby to boob, or exclusively pumping, you go into it like, I'm definitely going to, you know, pump for 24 months, like it's written in a rock. No. Okay, cool, set a goal, try to reach it, but life happens. I'm getting busier, and that's why I decided to stop pumping. and I need my sleep at night. I was tired of waking up at 3 a.m. to pump and at midnight to pump. So don't put so much pressure on yourself to be like, it is written in the Bible that you must pump for 24 months. Set a goal, be willing to adjust it when need be. My goal was to reach 18 months and we reached 13. So I feel like we still did well. Tip number 3 is to make sure that you have a dedicated pumping station, first of all, and secondly, that you've got a system in terms of sanitizing and washing your pump. So at your pumping station, in fact, where I'm sitting right now was my pumping station. To the left of me is where I would put the things that I need. My pump is one of them. My phone to track how much I'm pumping, because I needed to know, like I have to know, like, how much milk did I make, when's the next pumping session. It was difficult for me to keep up with, oh, it's time to pump again. So I had an app to do all of that for me. And at your pumping station, put the things that you like. You know, if you've got a little one, like a toddler and a baby, and you're pumping, have a little basket at your pumping station for your toddler, for toys that they can play with only during the pumping session. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult to sort of disconnect yourself from the source or the power supply and run after your toddler. Snacks. Make sure that your snacks are on point. I've got a recipe for little energy balls that help produce milk. I'll link it above over here. And now in terms of your washing and sanitizing station, a thing that I learned was that you have to wash and sterilize your pump all the time. Okay. But one other thing, if your budget allows, that you can add to your pumping station is a bar fridge. I didn't have one of those, but that's definitely something that I will look into if I have another child and I'm exclusively pumping again. Reason being, because if you're pumping in the middle of the night, you do not want to get up to go and store the milk in the fridge. You want to disconnect the pump from your boobs, put the milk in the fridge with the pump part, I'll explain why just now, and go back to sleep. So if you've got a bar fridge right next to you, that makes life just so much easier. Now in terms of putting the pump parts in the fridge, that'll make sure that no bacteria grows on them. They are at a safe temperature. If your fridge is between 0 or 1 degree to 5 degrees, that's perfect. No bacteria is going to grow on there. You literally have to take it out of the fridge. It might be a little bit cold on your boobs. Take it out of the fridge, connect it, put it on your boobs, and pump again. And you can do this during the daytime, and then I'd say in the morning, once you're awake, wash, sterilize, put it back in the fridge, and then once at night again. So you do that twice a day. So if you're storing your pump parts in the fridge, it makes your life just so much easier. Tip number 4 is going to be, make sure that your pumping sessions are enjoyable. You know, I spoke about snacks just now. One other way that you can do that, I did this a lot in the early days of like newborn stage. I did this a lot. Get your computer out, catch up on the latest Netflix series that you're watching, or the ones that everyone is talking about. We watched so much Netflix. I'm saying we, but mostly me, because Zion was either on the boob or I was pumping and he was sleeping. I watched so much Chef's Table, and I don't remember the animated show we watched, but it was cute. But yeah, make sure that it's enjoyable. Like I said, if you have a little child, a toddler and a newborn, have something for your toddler to play with as well, and that'll make life much more enjoyable, less stress-free, and you'll see just how quickly time goes if you're busy doing something or just watching something while you pump. And my last tip is make sure that you've got a pumping schedule. This is so important, not only for your sanity but also for your milk supply. If your pumping sessions are far and few in between, you're going to lose your supply quicker than, you know, your targeted goal. So one thing that helped me was having the app. The app that I use is called Breastfeeding. It's just called Breastfeeding. You can track your pumpings. You can track nappies, how many wet nappies, how many soiled nappies. You can track baby's weight on there, baby's height on there. You can track breastfeeding sessions. So instead of, I started using the app while I was breastfeeding before pumping. So instead of squeezing your boob to feel, oh, which side did I finish on, I could just look at the app and know that, oh, okay, I have to start with the left boob or start with the right boob. And in terms of my pumping schedule, I was pumping every 2.5 to 3 hours for a very long time. It was only about, I'd say when Zion was 8 months old, that I was now pumping like every 3.5 to 4 hours. And when I did that, I noticed that my supplies dropped intensely. It literally dwindled, you know, but I was ready to move on to pumping every 4 hours, and so I did that. So I first started pumping every 3 hours, then every 4 hours, then every 6 hours, and then I just dropped the pumpings altogether. There was a point where I was pumping only in the morning and then at night, but I just found that the milk was just not enough to even make up a full bottle. It was about 60 from both pumping sessions, the morning and the evening. And so that's why I decided I'm ready to pack my pump away and let my child just be on formula until he's 2 years old or until he's 18 months old, and then we can wean him off bottles. So that concludes my pumping tips and this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Please let me know in the comments if you have any other tips, if you exclusively pumped, how long you did it for, all of that beautiful jazz. And I'd love for you to subscribe to my channel and give this video a big thumbs up. Thank you so much.